members, I have been informed that the WIPARI has agreed that there will be no notices of motion or motions without notice today, except for motions on the order paper. We now come to the first motion on the order paper as printed in the name of the Chief Whip. Honorable Chief.
House Chairperson, thank you very much for this opportunity. I move the motion as printed on this order paper, pages 1 to 2. I move accordingly, Honorable Member. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Chief Whip. As there is no speakers list, I shall now put on the question. The question is that the motion be agreed to. I shall first ascertain whether all heads of delegation are present in the chamber to cast their provinces' votes. Are all heads of delegation present? Are all heads of delegation present in the chamber? KZN is also present. I can see there are 2 members there. Thank you. In accordance with Rule 7.1, I shall first allow provinces the opportunity to make their declaration of vote if they so wish. We will have a maximum of 3 minutes per declaration. It looks like there is no declaration to be made. So we shall now proceed to the voting on the question. I shall do this in alphabetical order per province. Heads of delegation will vote by pressing in favor, against, or abstain button. I now call upon the province. Limpopo? Limpopo, Grace. We'll come to that one, Mama. Mpumalanga?
Mpumalanga agrees, Chair.
Northern Cape?
Northern Cape agrees.
Northwest? Western Cape? Western Cape agrees. Okay. Honorable members, we have 8 provinces voted in favor. I therefore declare the motion agreed to in terms of Section 65 of the Constitution, Honorable Chetty. We now come to the second motion on the order paper as printed in the name of the Chief Whip. Honorable Chief Whip. Honorable Chief Whip.
Chairperson of the session, thank you very much. I again move for the motion as printed on this.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chief Whip. As there is no speakers list, I shall now put on the question. The question is that the motion be agreed to. In accordance with Rule 7.1, I shall first allow provinces the opportunity to make their declarations or vote if they so wish. A maximum of 3 minutes per declaration. Okay, we proceed. We shall now proceed to the voting on the question. I shall do this in alphabetical order per province. Heads of delegation will vote by pressing in favor, against, or abstain button. I now call upon the provinces. Eastern Cape?
Eastern Cape agrees.
Free State?
Free State supports, Chair.
Gauteng?
Gauteng agrees.
KwaZulu-Natal?
KZN abstains, Chair.
Limpopo,
Limpopo re dumela modulasetulo.
Mpumalanga,
Mpumalanga agrees.
Northern Cape,
Northern Cape agrees.
thank you. Northwest, thank you. Western Cape,
Eastern Cape agrees.
thank you very much. All the heads of delegation voted. So we have 8 provinces that voted in favor. I therefore declare the motion agreed to in terms of section 65 of the Constitution. We are now going to proceed. But before we proceed to questions, I would like to take this opportunity to welcome the ministers and deputy ministers who are in this chamber. We will now proceed with the question as printed on the question paper. Honorable members, we are going to start with the questions that are on page 5, starting with question 3. And the question was asked by the Honorable Member G. Michalakis from the Free State to ask the Minister of Justice and Correctional Services. Over to you, Honorable Minister.
Chairperson, thanks. Just maybe to indicate that I'm standing in for the Minister of Justice and Correctional Services is abroad in an international meeting. I'm standing in for my colleague, the Deputy Minister of Correctional Services. I'm the Deputy Minister of Justice and Constitutional Development. So on the 3 correctional services questions, I don't have necessarily all the detail. But as far as the question around cellular phone detection and the plans in place other than cellular telephone detection to curb and prevent the smuggling of goods into prison, the reply is the department has always recognized that the first layer of security in correctional facilities is diligent personnel who conduct thorough searching and supervision of inmates and their possessions on a frequent basis. The department has taken various steps.
Order, Honorable Minister. Please take your seat.
Okay.
Honorable Chair, on a point of order, I would like to know when has the National Council of Provinces or the chairperson has been informed that the Deputy Minister is standing in? Thank you.
Please raise your voice, speak to the mic. They did not hear your
Honorable
question.
Chair, I would like to know when was the chairperson of the National Council been informed that the Deputy Minister will stand in? And I would also like to know, on a point of order, if the Minister will be able to handle all the follow-up questions on all for the department that he's standing in. If not so, we have a problem. Thank you.
Okay, let me take this to the Honorable Chief Whip.
Chairperson, all the formalities have gone into. I would like to reassure the member that her concerns have been addressed. The Deputy Minister would not be here if his minister doesn't have confidence in him that he's equal to the task. I'm also confident he's equal to the task. The chairperson of council is also confident the Deputy Minister is equal to the task. So let the member be reassured. Everything will be okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Chief Whip. Honorable Minister, you can continue.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, order, Honorable Minister, you may take your seat again. There is a follow-up.
Honourable Chair, on a point of order as well, I'd like to concur with my colleague, Honourable Labuskaghni, that the Minister is not from this portfolio. So when there's follow-up questions, we will not get the answers, and this is the problem to us. It is not on the Minister's portfolio. I'm not saying the Minister don't have the ability to answer some of the questions, but because it's not on his portfolio, we can't expect him to answer it. So I'd really got a problem with that.
Thank you, Honorable. Before you can say something, Honorable Chief Whip, Honorable Faber, I was going to say to you that we have been reassured that the minister is equal to the task. And remember, they work as a collective. Let's not give the minister a benefit of the doubt and listen to his responses. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister.
Madam Chair, just to indicate, it is part of the same cluster. But anyway, on the question of curbing and preventing the smuggling of goods into prison, what I was reading was that the department has always recognized that the first layer of security is a diligent personnel who conduct thorough searching and supervision of inmates and their possessions on a frequent basis. And the department has taken a number of steps to prevent smuggling of goods into prison. The one is the launching of the Back to Basics security campaign, aimed at reasserting the importance of basic security measures and competencies such as searching of persons and goods. The campaign strongly focuses on management's involvement to ensure adherence and full compliance to security principles and procedures. This includes awareness raising, communication of decisions to the lowest levels, implementation, monitoring and evaluation, engagement and motivation of staff, and providing direction. As part of broader engagements, the department is part of an interdepartmental process exploring technical countermeasures, in part response to gangs as a security threat group. This is a conscious effort to partner with other state law enforcement agencies in finding suitable solutions on the holistic challenges. And the searching of inmates and belongings at irregular or extraordinary times to find and remove unauthorized communication devices that may have entered the correctional facilities. And then the second layer of security is the use of technical equipment. And we've been rolling out, the department has been rolling out integrated security systems to various correctional centers. These systems include security fences, scanners for searching of parcels entering correctional centers, metal detectors, CCTV monitoring at access control points, and also cell phone detection systems. The rollout of these systems is currently in progress at 38 correctional centers countrywide, and future rollout will be based on availability of funding. And the department is also in the process of installing 14 body scanners at 7 correctional centers to further assist officials. Let me leave it like that for now. Thank you, Madam Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Minister. Before I can allow honorable members to raise their follow-up questions, let us take this opportunity and welcome our grade 5 and 6 learners who are in the gallery from Hillcrest Primary School. Welcome. Thank you very much. We are now going to allow the honorable members, if ever they have a supplementary question, to raise them. And remember, honorable members, time for raising the supplementary questions is only 2 minutes. Can I see by a show of hands if ever there is a follow-up question? I've seen a hand of the Honorable Lauskachan and the Honorable the Honorable Terblanche will be the next one to follow. Oh, my apology. My apology, Honorable Van Lingen. The member who raised the question must start raising his follow-up question, unless if he does not have it. Honorable Michalakis, it's your chance.
Thank you, Honorable House Chairperson. Thank you, Honorable Deputy Minister. Deputy Minister, at the end of last year, it was admitted that the smuggling problem in our jails have become so bad that it's an embarrassment and should receive immediate attention. I'm glad that this was acknowledged, since I have been asking this question for the last 2 years already. Will the department have a sufficient budget to deal effectively with this issue, whilst at the same time addressing other pressing issues, such as uniforms for staff and rehabilitation, which is already under budgeted, which also needs to be prioritized at a substantial cost? If not, what will the minister do to ensure that the department can afford financially to address this issue? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Michalakis. Deputy Minister.
Chairperson, thanks. As I stated in the reply, the rollout, there are systems are being rolled out to 38 correctional centers, and that list can be supplied if people want, or if honorable members want. And the rollout and future rollout will be based on the availability of funding. So funding is obviously a concern, and obviously it's something that the Department of Correctional Services would have to look at in terms of reprioritizing. But obviously the Parliament is welcome to vote more money for correctional services if they so wish.
Okay, thanks, Honorable Deputy Minister. Honorable Abskachen will be followed by the Honorable Member Tablanche, and the last one will be the Honorable Member Timpi. In that order.
Can the Honourable Minister confirm whether the fifth was an inside job or not?
Did you get the question? Will you please repeat, Honorable Abskachen? Try to speak into the mic, ma'am.
Thank you. Can the Honourable Minister confirm whether the theft that took place was an inside job?
Madam Chair, I couldn't really hear the question, but as it was the second time, she was referring to a theft, but I don't know what theft she's talking about, and it also sounds like a new question.
The Honorable Member Tablanche.
On a point of order, can I refer to the question? The question on the order paper reads, whether with a reference to the theft which took place at the Defence Intelligence Office. Sorry.
Honorable Abskachen, please, let's allow the Honorable Tablanche to continue.
Still waiting for the mic, thank you.
Yeah, you're protected. Continue.
Thank you, Chairperson, and thank you, Honourable Deputy Minister. The Minister made mention of the fact that these measures were rolled out to 38 facilities. And I just want to know from the Minister what impact, to what percentage that managed to manage the incidences down. Thank you, Minister.
Honorable Deputy Minister.
Look, this question is related to the next question, which relates to escapes. I don't have any statistics for, I mean, this one was specifically around the smuggling of goods and the prevention of the smuggling of goods. I don't have any statistics on the impact. It's a rollout in progress. I do, with the second question, have some report on the numbers of escapes, which was something that was specifically asked for. So I would suggest that if the Honourable Member can put it in as a new question.
Thank you very much. The Honourable Tablanche, you are advised to put that question in writing.
Chairperson, may I address you?
May you address me?
May I say something about that?
No, Honourable Tablanche. Please take your seat.
Thank you.
Honourable Timpi.
Thank you, House Chair. Thank you, Honourable Deputy Minister. Honourable Deputy Minister, can you answer me what has been the outcome of the intervention, particularly on the Back to Basic campaign? Can you answer me on that? Thank you, Chair.
The Honourable Deputy Minister.
Chairperson, as I'd indicated, the Back to Basics security campaign has effectively started, and part of the process is this greater education of officials to perform their tasks properly, and then also the rollout of increased surveillance and security equipment. We don't have any statistics, or actually, sorry, the numbers of sorry, and that's also in regard to Mr. Tablanche. I have been given some statistics. The number of cell phones that have been confiscated has increased from 11,900 in 2012-13 to 17,929 in 2014-15. The number of SIM cards confiscated from 5,764 to 10,000. So there's charges, cell phone charges from 10 in the 2012-13 to 40. Memory cards 259 to 488. So there has been quite a substantial increase in the number of goods that have been confiscated. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Minister. We are now proceeding to question 3.1 asked by the Honorable Timbi. Honorable Deputy Minister.
Chairperson, thanks. A lot of the answer is similar to the previous question relating to the Back to Basics campaign, so I won't repeat that. And it also relates to the provision of increased security equipment. But just as far as the specific questions on the provincial breakdown of escapes, captures, and what are the challenges, firstly, the Department of Correctional Services is demarcated into regions, not provinces. But the figures for the escapes for the period 1st of April 2015 to January 2016, in the Eastern Cape there were 4 escapes and 4 rearrests. Free State and Northern Cape, 26 escapes and 22 rearrested. Gauteng, 5 escapes, 2 rearrested. KwaZulu-Natal, 10 escapes, 9 rearrested. Limpopo, Mpumalanga and Northwest, 10 escapes and 6 rearrested. Western Cape, 7 escapes and 6 rearrests. The major challenges experienced by the department leading to escapes are the non-adherence to security policies and procedures by some staff members, and outdated and inadequate security infrastructure and technology. And these challenges are aggravated by factors such as the chronic overcrowding of many correctional centers, with consequential staff shortages and negative impact on basic infrastructure services. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Minister. Honorable Timbi, do you have a follow-up question?
Thank you, Chair. Deputy Minister, I'm sorry to ask this, and regarding to Rodavan, could you share with the House how did the inmates try to escape? Also, how was it followed? I don't know. Take it over to you, sir.
Over to you, sir.
Chairperson, thanks. Honourable Member, I unfortunately don't have, it's a new area. I don't have the detail of that, if it can be supplied to you afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you for the promise, Honorable Deputy Minister. Can I see, you want to make a follow-up? Honorable Faber?
Chairperson, if you could recognize me.
I do recognize you.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, this is just back to what I started with. With due respect to the Minister, I know he had a good gym workout this morning and he feels very confident about himself, but to be quite honest, he does not have all this information which the Minister of this specific portfolio have. And this really becomes a problem because it needs to be now, and our Honourable Member here was asking a question, and I really do understand that the Minister don't want to lie here because we're not allowed to lie in this House, but we really need to have the correct portfolio minister here. And this is really going to have, this is just the start of it. There's going to be a lot of follow-up questions which this minister would not be able to answer, Chair.
Honorable Faber, that is not a follow-up question, but in the response of the Deputy Minister, there is a promise that he will make sure that he make a follow-up on the response that maybe he does not have them now at hand. Honorable Timbi, your chance has lapsed, Honorable Member. I won't come back to you again. I see the Honorable Member Kaila, I see the Honorable Member Mokoena, and then Honorable Julius will be the last one. It's not a follow-up. Okay. Let me recognize him first. Honorable Kaila.
Thank you, Chair. I think on the strength of the Honorable Deputy Minister, already having said in his opening remark that he will not have all the answers. I think it's a legitimate concern that we're going to sit in a session here where we're not going to get the answers. So I think let's agree that we will have another session soon, I think in order to cover us in this session, that we will have another session soon where possibly the minister will have appraised himself on certain issues, or we can have the Minister of Correctional Services. Thanks.
Can I allow the Deputy Minister to respond to what the Honorable Mokoena and Faber has just raised?
I mean, there are three questions to Correctional Services. I've done the one. The honourable member from over there, I'm unfortunately not aware of her name, who had initially complained when I stood up that I wouldn't be able to answer the follow-up questions. She asked a follow-up question relating to a completely different question. So I think number one was covered. As far as the follow-up to number two, it was a specific issue which is not covered in this reply. So I'm not sure how I can be expected to answer that, and I've said I would supply the information. Can I, with respect, Honourable Chairperson, know from the Honourable members what questions, follow-up questions they've got on this question? Not new questions, follow-ups on this question.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Minister. Honourable Khaila, it's your chance, sir.
Thank you, Deputy Chairperson. Deputy Minister, according to your reply, there seems to be a high number of escapes in the Free State. What would be the reason for that? Thank you.
Honourable Minister.
Okay, sorry, the figure is for the Free State and the Northern Cape together. I don't have the details, unfortunately, as to why the Free State is so bad in that period. Again, we can supply further information if need be.
The Honourable Van Leyen.
Chair, the issue is that the ministers or the deputy minister is not really on top of the subject. So I need to support the colleagues that have raised the issue, because we're not going to go anywhere with questions that the ministers are not answering themselves. They are the executive and they must answer the questions.
Do you have a follow-up question, Ma? You don't have, okay. Okay, Honourable Julius.
Thank you, House Chairperson. Deputy Minister, will the Minister appoint experts to identify and investigate all state facilities, including allowing for independent oversight to ensure that long-term measures are in place in this regard? Thank you.
The Honourable Minister.
Entirely sure of what the honourable member is meaning by his question. I mean, in terms of the problems of escapes, I've responded as far as the steps being taken. It relates to a problem, as was indicated, of personnel, and the steps being taken there relate to training. The other relates to technology and the need to supply that technology to particular centres and the budget constraints on that. So I'm not sure what the honourable member is why the honourable member feels there should be greater technical advice or independent oversight. So I think his question is a little bit unclear to me.
Okay, thank you very much, Deputy Minister. We now proceed to question 6.1, asked by the Honourable LG Mokoena. Over to you, Deputy Minister.
Chairperson, thank you. The question was sort of somewhat edited by the questions office, and I think it's useful to, there's a reference to details furnished. I think it's quite important to indicate the way it read. And the Honourable Mokoena stated that the Truth and Reconciliation Commission gave over about 350 files of apartheid officials and politicians who could not be granted amnesty to be prosecuted for the crimes committed against black people. What has the department done to ensure that all apartheid offenders, including politicians, are prosecuted for apartheid crimes? I think firstly just to state that the TRC process was from both sides. So in terms of the outstanding cases, it was both people who had been committing crimes in support of the apartheid order and people who were committing crimes opposing it. So just to clarify that. But in 1999, the TRC had discussions with the then National Director of Public Prosecutions regarding developing a strategy for dealing with prosecutions arising from the TRC process. As part of this process, the TRC referred amnesty application lists to the NPA, but it's not correct that the TRC referred 350 files to the NPA as alluded by the Honourable Member. A TRC task team was set up which perused the lists and also liaised with the directors of public prosecutions who had jurisdiction over certain cases. In 2003, the then NDPP directed that the outstanding cases be dealt with by the Priority Crimes Litigation Unit in his office, and all matters which came to the attention of the NPA were dealt with according to the dynamics of each case. In certain instances, prosecutions were instituted, whereas in other cases, matters were closed either due to lack of evidence, prescription, or because the perpetrators had in fact been granted amnesty. At all times, the investigation of such matters was the responsibility of the South African Police Service, save for a short period when the Directorate for Special Operations dealt with individual cases. I want to assure the honourable members of this House that the prosecution of apartheid crimes, whether committed by a politician or any other person, is an ongoing process receiving the attention of the NPA. Given our history, the successful prosecution of these cases is difficult and fraught with challenges. The TRC Act, for example, specifically made provision for investigations and prosecutions to be put on hold pending the amnesty applications, and the SAPS at the time decided to suspend investigations in all cases where it was believed that amnesty applications would be lodged. This was to save resources being wasted if in fact amnesty was granted. And furthermore, the TRC Act specifically excluded the amnesty applications and subsequent oral testimony from being used in criminal proceedings. Experience has shown that one of the biggest challenges for the prosecution of these cases is a dedicated investigative unit that exclusively concentrates on these kinds of crimes. Furthermore, the police and the prosecution are very often dependent on the evidence of witnesses who have been co-conspirators to prove these offences. These witnesses are reluctant to be seen as traitors that turn against their erstwhile comrades. They're reluctant to come forward, and cases are difficult to prosecute and prove. This is exacerbated by the fact that prior to the April 1994 elections, the apartheid state security forces deliberately destroyed substantial documentation in order to conceal the involvement of state structures in human rights abuses. Currently, the Directorate for Priority Crime Investigation of the South African Police Service is attending to 7 matters where decisions whether to prosecute or not still have to be taken. That's 7 TRC-related matters. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Minister. Honourable Mokoena, do you have a follow-up question?
Yes, Chair.
Okay, proceed.
I think the essence of the question emanates from the fact that there's a certain unevenness with which cases are being dealt with, ones that have been dealt with post the TRC. One particular case is that of Kenny Motsamai, who has been in prison now for 26 years. He'll be 27 years this year in prison for a crime committed pre-1994. And in dealing with the case, the minister was given an opportunity to release Kenny Motsamai, given the fact that he has complied with parole conditions. The minister has set new parole conditions for Kenny Motsamai following an SMS that was sent to the minister by the family to ask when they're going to release Kenny Mutsamai. New conditions have been effected on Kenny Mutsamai. He's now been given a condition that he has to have a tracker, despite the fact that he's not a danger to anybody anymore. He's given conditions that have not been given to the prime committer of crimes against humanity, Eugene de Kock, who was released without these conditions. What is the balance that we're effecting on these cases where black and white are concerned? Thanks.
Thank you, Honorable Mokoena. Honorable Minister.
Honorable Chairperson, I have to say I have a problem. The question is around the prosecution of offenders for TRC-related matters. The follow-up question that the Honourable Member asks is then about parole. It's a completely different issue. And in fact, the one is relating to correctional services, is follow-up. The other one is related, the first question is relating to justice. So I would really respectfully request that honourable members ask questions that are linked, that are really follow-ups from the question that they have posed. And this question is around prosecutions, not around paroles.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Honorable Mokoena is very aware that he is not allowed to raise a new question. And now that you're not even prepared to go into that question, now we proceed to the Honorable Member Makua. What is the point of order, Honorable Mokoena?
I'm afraid the minister is dodging the question, because in his reply, he talked about the balance between white and black in dealing with these prosecutions. The follow-up question is dealing directly with that reply. What is new about that? If the minister does not know the answers, he must just say so and not come up with these things that he's saying.
Okay, thank you very much. The advice that I'm getting from the table is that indeed it is a new question, because the people that you referred to were prosecuted. The Honorable Member Mokoena, we are now going to proceed. Can I now allow the Honorable Member Makua? Your time has elapsed, Honorable Member, and you used the whole 2 minutes in making your follow-up question. What is the point of order?
Can I get an indication then from the advisor who gave you advice as to what is new about a follow-up question that is directly implied in the answer that the minister gave?
Okay, Honorable Mokoena, that is not a point of order.
It's a point of order.
That is not a point of order, Honorable Member, please.
Because then it means we can't make follow-up questions, because then somebody can just decide that it's a new question based on their interpretation.
But it's according to what the Honorable Minister has said. Maybe we should allow I see your hand, Honorable Member. Maybe we should allow the Honorable Minister to repeat himself. It's what he said.
He didn't say anything. He just said he can't answer the question.
No, he said it's a new question. You heard him, Honorable Member.
No, he didn't answer the question.
Please take your seat. Take your seat, Honorable Mokoena.
He didn't answer the question.
And we allow the Honorable Minister respectfully. So, Honorable Members, I'll come to the Honorable Member Jihad, and Mam Dlamini, you'll be the second one, ma. Let me allow the Honorable Minister to respond.
Can I just give clarity? I mean, as far as the Honourable Mokwena's question, it was around the TRC giving files. He said 350 files of apartheid officials and politicians. Okay, I was pointing out that it wasn't just apartheid officials. It was both sides. Okay, that was the question. And then the question specifically was, what has your department done to ensure that all apartheid offenders, including politicians, are prosecuted? Okay. The honourable member then comes with a question relating to somebody who's been prosecuted, who is serving a sentence. And the question relates to parole, okay? And he links it to another issue of another person, Eugene de Kock, both of whom I think either applied for amnesty with the TRC and didn't get it, okay? So it's actually nothing to do with the TRC. So I think the honourable member may have some difficulty in understanding the concepts of prosecution and parole, but it definitely is a new question.
Honorable Mukwena, you had your chance, and now I want to proceed, Honorable Mukwena. Why do you say no, Honorable Mukwena? What is your point of order?
Point of order, Chair, is that the minister himself said when he opened
No,
it,
that is not a point. That is not a point of order.
Question is edited.
Honorable Mukwena,
In the non-edited.
can I address you, Honorable Mukwena?
Can I finish
And
my
Honorable
point of
Mukwena,
order?
allow me to address you.
Can I finish my
Honorable
point of order?
Honorable Mukwena, allow me
And
to
there's a
address
member
you.
here who's standing here and I haven't finished. I'm
There's-
not finished.
Honorable Jihad, please take your seat. Take your seat. I'll give you a chance.
I'm responding-
Honorable Mukwena, please
Can I
take your seat. I want to address you.
No.
You respond. No, you can't respond to the questions, Honorable Mukwena. You can only order, honorable members. Order, honorable members. You can only rise on a point of order and not respond to what the minister. But the way I heard you, Honorable Mukwena, that is not a point of order. It's a point of debate. And the Honorable Member Mukwena, Honorable Mukwena, please take your seat. Allow me to repeat what I said. Honorable Mukwena, Honorable Mukwena, take your seat and listen to me. Honorable Mukwena, I have made a ruling on what you were raising. So now we continue. Honorable Member Jihad, it's the Honorable Member Makua.
you noted
I've
me,
made a
Chairperson.
ruling. If ever you're going to say something in connection with what Mukwena is saying, we've made a ruling on that one and we have passed. Honorable Makua.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson.
Honorable Mukwena, take your seat, sir. For what, Honorable Member? A new point. Honorable Mukwena, okay. He is having a new point of order. Let's hear the new point of order.
Thank you.
No, we will listen to honorable members. Please allow me.
Chair.
Honorable members, the rules of this house allows everybody to put on a point of order. If he is saying it's a new point of order, please take your seats, honorable members. Honorable members, take your seats. Let's listen to the point of order. Take your seats, honorable members. For the last
Chair.
time, Honorable Dlamini.
Chair.
Honorable Mukwena,
Chair, it's the last time. I need to make this point
it
of
must
order.
be on a point of order.
It's a point of order.
Please.
And can I be allowed, please, to finish my point of order? Here's, the minister says,
You are, must I allow you, honorable members, please order. Let me listen to you correctly. Are you saying we must allow you to finish what, Honorable
point
Mukwena?
of order.
The one that we have ruled over it.
It's a new point of order.
A new one, okay,
Yes.
raise a new one. If it is a new one, it's not a new one, honorable member. Please, you must take your seat.
It's a new one. It's a new one. It's completely new. Brand new from the box.
I gave you a hearing, honorable
Thank you
member.
very much. The minister, Chair, says, in the question, he himself says in the question, it refers to cases that have been referred.
What is your point of order? We heard what the minister has said.
But can you allow me to?
I want you to raise your point of order.
Yes, but I must give you
Give me a
background
point of
information.
order, sir.
He says that cases were referred to the NPA, and the case of Kenny Mutsamai is one of those cases. And now I'm saying to you that there's an imbalance in which through which you guys are dealing with cases referring.
Order, honorable members, order,
Department,
please.
I withdraw you guys.
Allow
the
him to-
department. There's an imbalance with which the department is dealing with cases where black or white are concerned. And I'm asking that question as to how are you balancing the issues out?
Thank you, Honorable Mukwana. That is not a point of order. Take your seat, Honorable Deputy Minister.
Why is it not
It's
a
not
point
a point of order. Please take your seat. We continue. Honorable Makua, it's your chance now. Take your seat, Honorable Member. Now you're out of order, Honorable Mukwena. You are out of order now. Honorable Mukwena, you are out of order, Honorable Mukwena. If ever you want to leave, please don't disturb the house. You must just leave us with peace. Honorable Makua.
Thank you.
Honorable Makua, continue. No, Honorable Mukwena. Take your seat, sir. Honorable Mukwena. Honorable Mukwena, you are out of order. You are out of order.
You want an early lunch?
Okay, continue, sir. We know the character of the EFF.
Thank you.
Let's continue.
Very much, Honorable Chairperson. We come from a very difficult history, and we cannot allow a situation where the EFF, who just arose yesterday, want to distort this history. My question to the Deputy Minister is to help scores of people out there who are still sitting with the pain, Deputy Minister, of not knowing what do they do now that we have had the amnesty processes where people are still feeling that those that have applied for amnesty have been granted amnesty. And also some of our people out there don't even know if the perpetrators have been granted amnesty. Can you help us, Deputy Minister, to say to the people out there, when they are still unsatisfied with the prosecutorial process, what is it that people can do post the Truth and Reconciliation Commission work? Thank you, Chair.
Over to you, Honorable.
Thanks, Madam Chair. It's a pity Honourable Mokwena's left, but I mean, just to specify that this, because the person he refers to was convicted, there is no way that that file could have gone to the NPA, because the NPA was only concerned about people who hadn't been prosecuted yet. So the Honourable Member really, with respect, is misleading the House. As far as the follow-up question, look, the difficulty, I mean, well, firstly, the information relating to who got amnesty and for what is contained in the TRC reports is accessible. So that shouldn't be a problem. Prosecutions are quite difficult. I mean, remember that post-TRC, there have been prosecutions that did not succeed. So I'm referring in particular to the Milan prosecution, the apartheid doctor, SADF doctor, also did not succeed. There is a missing persons task team of the NPA, which is tasked to try and discover the remains of missing people or the whereabouts of missing people. But everything is dependent on evidence, on people being able to come forward. And that was the benefit, I suppose, of the TRC process, in that it did encourage people to come forward with information which otherwise would not have been known. But in any society that has been through severe conflict like ours, obviously there are a lot of wounds that are difficult to heal without knowing exactly what happened.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Can I see if ever we still have follow-up? Do you want to say something, ma'am? Honorable Dlamini, over to you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. It was a point of order that we cannot afford a situation that all the time when members of the EFF wants to go, they created drama in this house. As you can see, all of them are not here. After realizing that he is the only one here, he now creates a drama so that he can make an excuse of leaving this house. We cannot afford that, Honorable Chair.
Okay, thank you very much, Honorable Dlamini. And we have all noticed that nobody chased him out. He volunteered to walk out of this house. So, honorable members, let us continue. If ever we do not have another follow-up question, we can proceed to question number 32, asked by the Honorable Member Timbi to the Deputy Minister.
Thanks, Chairperson. This relates to the progress being made by the National Forum on the Legal Practice Act in ensuring transformation of the legal profession. And just to start with some background information, the Legal Practice Act consists of 10 chapters. Parts 1 and 2 of Chapter 10 came into operation on the 1st of February 2015. These parts deal with the establishment and mandate of the National Forum on the legal profession. The remainder of the Act is not yet in operation and will come into operation when the National Forum has completed its mandate, and the National Forum has 3 years to do that in. And basically the whole reason for the National Forum was there were certain areas that the attorneys and advocates professions couldn't resolve at the time of the passing of the Legal Practice Act. And so they were then given a further maximum of 3 years to resolve those questions. If they reach agreement, the Minister of Justice will make those the agreements into regulations. If they don't reach an agreement, then the Minister is empowered to make those regulations anyway after consultation with the Forum. But the issues relate to the election procedure for the purposes of constituting the Permanent Legal Practice Council. So in other words, how the component parts are going to be elected, the establishment of the provincial councils and their areas of jurisdiction, the composition, powers and functions of the provincial councils, the manner in which they're to be elected, and then all the practical vocational training requirements that candidate attorneys or pupils must comply with before they can be admitted as legal practitioners, and the right of appearance of candidate legal practitioners in court or in other institutions. Section 97(1) also requires the National Forum to prepare and publish a code of conduct for legal practitioners, candidate legal practitioners, and juristic persons which operate as legal firms. And they are also required to make rules on the competency-based examination or assessment for candidate legal practitioners, the minimum conditions and procedures for the registration and administration of practical vocational training, procedures and directions pertaining to the assessment of persons undergoing practical training, and issues relating to that, and then also the procedures to be followed by disciplinary bodies. These issues require to be addressed in the recommendations, and the rules are all of a highly transformative nature, and if done properly will go a long way in spearheading further transformation once the work of the National Forum has been finalized and the permanent structures envisaged in the Act are in place. The provisions of the Act are also of such a nature so as to ensure that the permanent structures that are to be put in place are representative and composed of persons who are committed to ensuring the transformative measures put in place by the National Forum will be institutionalized and sustained. Section 98(4) of the Act requires the National Forum to report to the Minister on its activities, and the Minister must submit such a report to Parliament. Without going into detail, I can inform honourable members that the members of the National Forum are hard at work to finalise their mandate to which I've referred. The chairperson of the National Forum has moreover indicated that there's been a meeting of minds between the various stakeholders in the Forum who are committed to ensuring that their mandate is carried out within the timeframe set in the Act. The National Forum has provided a report which has been submitted to Parliament as required by the Act, and I invite honourable members to obtain a copy of that report if they wish to interrogate the details of the work done by the National Forum to date. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Minister. Honourable Timbi, do you have a follow-up question?
Thank you, Chairperson. I want to thank the Honorable Deputy Minister for the answer and for the progress that made in regarding the forum of the legal practice. Thank you very much for that progress, Deputy Minister. Thanks.
It's not a follow-up question. Honorable Mikhalakis.
Thank you, Honourable House Chairperson. Honourable House Chairperson, my question goes not so much to the national forum itself, but more to transformation within the legal profession. So you're more than welcome to rule me out of order if that is unacceptable to you. However, I would like to ask the Honourable Deputy Minister whether his department has consulted with the Minister of Higher Education to ensure that we have more diverse graduates. In other words, what efforts is government making to motivate especially young black South Africans to study law? It's not always, having studied it myself, and I think the Deputy Minister might sometimes agree with me, it's not always the most attractive of professions and study fields all the time, but what is the government doing to make the study of law more attractive for young black South Africans? Thank you.
Honourable Minister.
And I don't have all the statistics, but no, we'll just try. I mean, the statistics that I would have liked is that the majority of graduates from the law faculties of the universities in South Africa are in fact black and African, okay? I don't know if there is any problem of encouraging young black students to study law. I think the numbers are fairly high. Where the issue becomes a problem, I mean, the statistics are the majority are African, the majority are women. The problem, though, is in terms of who gets the articles. As honourable members may know, before you can practice as an attorney, you have to undergo some kind of practical training, and that requires that you get articles of clerkship, or you become what's now called a candidate attorney. The figures of who gets those positions do not match up to the racial figures of those people coming out of university. I think it is a majority of women getting articles, but not a majority of black people, of black graduates. And similarly with pupillage at the bar. So those are the problems. The problem isn't so much in the university, the problem is afterwards, and how you can complete your training to get admitted as an attorney or an advocate. I would have liked to have had the figures if I had known, if you hadn't come with a new question, but I can just say that the proportions of those people getting articles racially is not equal to the proportion of the graduates. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Deputy Minister. Honourable Mikhalakis, I wish the Honourable Mukwana was here to see and copy your character when you ask a new question. Honourable members, if ever we do not have any other follow-up question, we will proceed to question number 14, asked by the Honourable Member Engelbrecht. To the Deputy Minister.
Thanks, Chairperson. This is relating to the number of minors in custody. And the first part is, according to the Department of Correctional Services, that a minor, just to get clarity on who we're talking about, is a child younger than 18 years. On the 12th of February this year, 2016, the number of children who were incarcerated in prisons, unsentenced children, 96, sentenced children, 178. The second question was around how many in custody with adult convicts, and the answer is none. The only issue is 90 infants are with their mothers, and this figure increased to 100 on the 12th of February 2016. And then the last part was the plans to address this matter. Maybe just to say that the whole purpose of the Child Justice Act was to try and keep children out of, as far as possible, out of the criminal justice system. So the Act is emphasized on assessing the needs of the child and diverting the child in the less serious offenses, and then ensuring that they didn't get incarcerated in prison while they're awaiting trial, and that preferably that they don't go to prison even if they are sentenced, that they're sent to a secure care facility. But the numbers have been reducing. So on the 12th of February last year, 2015, there were 117 unsentenced children in prison. Currently, the figure, as I gave, is 96, so that's a 21%, sorry, that's an 18% decrease. And the number of sentenced children in February 2015, it was 198. 12th of February this year, it's 178. That's a 10% decrease. So we are working at trying to keep children out of prison. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Do you have a follow-up question? Yes, over to you, Honorable Engelbrecht. You'll follow.
Madam Chairperson, thank you. Mr. Deputy Minister, thank you very much. And thank you for the good statistics in terms of 117 being reduced to 96. I think that's impressive in terms of a percentage. But could you maybe just elaborate why there are still so many unsentenced children? Thank you.
Over to you, Honorable Minister.
Chairperson, look, it relates to the nature of the offence that they have been accused of. I mean, it's specified in the Child Justice Act under Section 30. And it is that, one of the issues is the detention is necessary in the interests of administration of justice or the safety or protection of the public or the child or another child in detention. And there's a likelihood that the child, if convicted, could be sentenced to imprisonment. So the Act does specify the limited conditions that a child can be held in custody awaiting trial. As far as possible, the child is to be released into the custody of the parent, or if that's not possible, if they do have to be locked up, then to be put into a secure care facility. So I think because it's a smallish number, it means that it's only those that have committed very serious crimes, or allegedly have committed very serious crimes, and who may not be suitable for being held anywhere else.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Chad.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Deputy Minister, it's very clear that there's a clear working relationship between the Department of Correctional Services together with Social Services. I just want to check, Deputy Minister, whether correctional services have psychiatrical service to examine incarcerated minors if they are being affected by correctional centers.
To the Deputy Minister.
Look, the issue of psychiatric services is more of a medical issue. So with social development, it's more with the social workers who would have, I suppose, some kind of training, but not so much. The social workers, for example, those are the social workers of the Department of Correctional Services with mothers and babies. They're continuously assessing the mother's family circumstances and the availability of support systems should the baby's circumstances permit the placement of the baby into alternative care. And the Department of Social Development social workers is conducting screening and background assessments of alternative placements for children as well. Each case is really dealt with on its merits. That's really all I can say at this point.
Thank you, Honorable Chetty.
Honorable Deputy Minister, are you aware of what steps, if any, has the Minister taken in conjunction with welfare agencies and with other institutions of public safety and security to tackle the issue of young offenders? Thank you.
It's a new question, Honorable Deputy Minister.
Honorable Chetty, that really is a new question. I mean, the whole approach from government is the Child Justice Act, which came into effect about 6 years ago. So it was implemented everywhere. Obviously, the training of the different components is important, but the whole, I don't know if you've read that act, Honorable Chetty, but if you haven't, I would suggest you do so. And the orders, the regulations and the orders associated with that act. Thank you, Chair. I'm not sure if, I think it may help the Honorable Chetty if he reads the act.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Minister. The Honorable Member Tablanche.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. The number that the Deputy Minister referred to, I was just wondering if he can give us clarity whether that includes or exclude the people that is also in police custody. That is now awaiting trials, and, you know, if the Minister can just give clarity on that. Thank you.
The clarity seeking question, Honourable
Yes.
Minister.
The question was to the Minister of Justice and Correctional Services. So it relates to people in custody in correctional facilities. If you want to know how many children in police custody, I suggest you ask the honourable member next to me.
Okay, thank you, Honourable Deputy Minister. We now proceed to question 28, asked by the Honourable Member Julius, to the Honourable Deputy Minister.
Thanks, Chairperson. This is about the Green Hawks and whether the NPA is prosecuting cases. And the reply is, I've been informed that the NPA does not distinguish between cases received from the different law enforcement agencies, such as the Green Hawks. The NPA deals with all cases received from the South African Police Service and considers each case on the merits and demerits of the particular case, instituting prosecutions whenever there's a reasonable prospect of success. The second part of the question was on statistics, how many successful prosecutions for the 2014-15 financial year, and due to the specific focus on all environmental crimes, so it's not just green hawks, but all environmental crimes, I've been informed that the number of convictions on environmental crimes amounted to 251 cases for the 2014-15 financial year, and the number of acquittals in that period was 14 cases. So that's 14 out of the 265 cases with verdicts. That's a conviction rate of 94.7. And as far as the last part of the question of how many of the more detail, how many of these cases was government a party to and why, we don't have the information available as to how many was government a party, and the second part obviously would fall away with that one. Thank you, Chairperson.
So, Honourable Julius, do you have a follow-up question?
Yes, Chairperson, thank you. Based on the figures that the department and the answer that you've given, it is, one can just draw the conclusion the department is not really serious about this, because you need to have this information readily available. I mean, the question was straightforward, the Green Hawks. But it took years for the Department of Justice to consider abalone poaching a serious crime. Now we have local government, through negligence of their core functions, responsible for most of the environmental crime, such as poor solid waste management and raw sewage in the streets. Honourable Chair, we have to ask the Minister how serious he and his departments are ensuring that our human rights as protected in law for a clean and healthy environment are legally enforced. Thank you, Chair.
Honourable Minister.
Chairperson, I mean, with respect to the honourable member, it's a bit of a rambling rhetoric. The way that the crimes are recorded is environmental crimes. Okay, so I don't know why you want a statistic as to this environmental crime came from this section, this one came from that section. And I think that the conviction rate is extremely high. If we want to make crimes more serious, we need to legislate them to be more serious, legislate higher penalties. Okay, so that is how, for example, government, parliament would indicate the seriousness of a case. As far as the environment, I mean, the municipal crimes, look, some municipalities have set up municipal courts with the Department of Justice, but very much it's the Department of Justice that runs those courts. And, but those courts are more dealing with traffic offences. Obviously, it is for In the case of the municipal matters, it is for the municipality to investigate and to press charges. And those matters would then be taken up by the police. But with respect to, most of what you've said, that we're not taking it seriously, with respect, there's no evidence of that. And please look at the issue in more detail. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. I have recognized the Honorable Member van Lingen. Then you will follow, Honorable Faber.
Chairperson, I do have to come up for my colleague here, where he specifically made it clear that it took a long time for abalone poaching to be recognized as a serious crime. Because previously it was a category B crime and it didn't go down well. But the point that he is actually making, and where I have a problem, is the municipal courts do traffic fines or whatever. But in the case of raw sewage and poor management of wastewater treatment plants, like I have laid charges against the municipal manager of Koga municipality for a sewage farm place unit that is not working. And we got the Department of Water Affairs out to come and take samples. And I wish you could see the reply. There is a clear block between the Department of Water Affairs and Koga municipality to take serious action against one another. And that is the issue. We are living in a water scarce country, and we need cooperation from a department that is prepared to take action where the other part is failing, or the other department or the other government is failing.
Honorable Deputy Minister.
Chair, thanks. The issue of the seriousness of a crime, and the Honourable Member refers to abalone, that is really, crimes are categorized, as you would know, in the Criminal Procedure Act in different schedules. That's up to Parliament to determine whether something needs to be recategorized or not. It's up to Parliament to indicate the seriousness of the case and to legislate accordingly. So you'd know that, for example, this House passed legislation on cable theft because of that being a problem, and that provided for quite serious penalties. That was Parliament showing that this matter is a serious crime. It needs to be elevated. So I please, instead of trying to blame others, look at what the legislature should do. And then as far as the specific detail relating to this water-related matter, I would appreciate if the Honourable Member could come with that as a question, if you want the detail of what's happening in that case or not happening, as the case may be. What I've been asked is a general question on the prosecution of environmental cases by specifically the Green Hawks. So if the Honourable Member wants details on that matter, can she please table it as a new question?
Thank you, Honourable Minister. I hope she heard you. The Honourable Member, Fama.
Thank you, Chair. Just on a point of order, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, the Honourable Minister Jeffries, to be quite honest, have not been by one of our members told that he's rambling or not knowing his acts and so much, even though he could not answer some questions. So I would please ask if the Honourable Minister not saying that about rambling rhetoric and our members should just read the act before asking questions. I believe that is not the right way to go about. We haven't asked the Minister to take us on. We are asking questions and we want fair answers. This is all why we are. That's the reason why we are. Thank you, Chair.
So you don't have a follow-up question? Honourable Minister?
I think with respect that when I get asked a question around what's government doing about children in custody, it is a valid point to ask, has the Honourable Member read the Child Justice Act? I think that's a valid question. And with respect, I unfortunately didn't, apologies, Honourable Julius, I didn't understand the question that thoroughly. But Madam Speaker, let me leave it like that. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Minister. Order, Honourable Members. If ever there is no follow-up question, let me take this opportunity and thank the Honorable Deputy Minister for devoting his time to come to this house. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. I think he deserves a round of applause as he is working out. Okay, we proceed, honorable members. We are now on question 52, asked by the Honorable Member Khaila to the Minister. Over to you, Minister.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, honorable members, ladies and gentlemen. The South African Police Service has an electronic crime administration system, shortly, briefly known as CAS, at all police stations that is used to register, manage, control, and keep record of reported criminal cases. When CAS is offline or not in operation, all newly reported case dockets are recorded manually in a backup register, commonly known as SAPS 441, where the information recorded in the SAPS 441 register is captured on the CAS or when the system becomes operational again. The South African Police Service is currently rolling out the investigative case docket management system, commonly known as ICD-MS, as an enhanced system to replace the CAS system. The ICD-MS system will also be rolled out in all SAPS stations to register, control, and manage cases reported to the police. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The Honorable Khaila, the follow-up.
Thank you, Chairperson. Honorable Minister, in many instances, case information is lost in police stations, resulting in investigations not being concluded and cases not prosecuted to finality. Having this system working properly and the official trained to manage it is critical in the administration of cases. I therefore wish that this could be of priority of the programs of the department. Has the department got proper systems in place to monitor? Because there are a lot of dockets that are getting lost. Are there proper systems to monitor that these dockets are captured daily? If you go to police station, Honorable Minister, lots of dockets get lost in the system. Thank you.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and thanks for the honourable member's suggestion. The fact of the matter is that cases reported at police stations are captured daily. However, what we have had to also confront and be confronted with is the question of cases that remain unresolved for over a period of time. And in that regard, towards the end of last year, we conducted a case docket management system, analysis, not system, to look at necessarily why do we have the kind of blockages that we seem to be experiencing and so forth. So as part of the back to basics approach that we have embarked upon, we then created a unit that has got to make direct interventions, particularly in the area of detective and investigative work and so forth, to begin to unblock most of these particular cases. And of course, in this regard, we have got to respond to a public outcry that we have picked up in a number of community outreach programs, wherein people complain that either somebody was murdered some 5 years ago or 10 years ago, and yet a case has never been resolved, and so it goes. We have recently reported to Parliament the amount of progress that we're beginning to register in this regard. So we are paying a specific and dedicated sort of attention to the issue of how we are managing cases and how we're investigating those particular cases, and we'll be reporting shortly back to Parliament about the amount of progress that we continue to register. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Honorable members? Honorable Terblanche? Any other member? Honorable Lund? Any other? The last supplementary?
Faber.
Faber. Just for today. I have rechristened you. There's a last supplementary. Do I have a hand, Honorable Warner, in that? Honorable Terblanche?
Not.
It was on, sir.
Pushed it. Okay, there you are. Honorable Chairperson, thank you. The Minister did acknowledge that, obviously there are problems, and we appreciate that. Having the systems that they are utilizing at the moment, Minister, don't you think we must maybe look at proper training, proper management in the charge office, and maybe just proper command and control? Don't you think that will maybe alleviate the problem in the meantime? Thank you what you are doing anyway for now. Thank you.
No, thanks, Madam Chair, and thanks for the suggestion as well, Honourable Member. There is a lot that we certainly do need to do. For an example, the question of frontline service delivery, and I think that's the point that we are talking to, is also another specific project area that we're looking into. Because the precise question is that as a member of the public, as you walk into a police station, what kind of basic levels of services you should actually expect to get behind the counter, for an example. So it's true, so we're also paying attention in those particular areas. But then there are also these areas that are quite specialized, for an example. One of the issues that has been found wanting, if you look at our annual report, for an example, for 2014-15, is that thus far the only division that has been underperforming in that particular period is the area of detectives. And that's where the bulk of your investigation work actually resides. And we therefore need to zoom specifically into that area. But as I accept your suggestions that perhaps these are other areas that we may have got to be looked into. However, the point is, yes, we are looking into some of them, but there are also specific areas of specialization that we need to effectively zoom into so that we are then able to render the service as constitutionally mandated.
The Honorable Faber.
Thank you, Chair. Excuse me for that. Thank you, Honourable Chair. Very similar to Honourable Terblanche's question on the system on capturing crime. Minister, I would like to know, I know the system needs people to be trained on, definitely. My question is, when we get on capturing crime, it is in certain brackets, these crimes in which they are being set. And when we get to crime statistics, does this not make a difference on the type of crime statistics at the end of the day if it's been captured wrongly? I just want to get some information on that.
Thank you, sir. Honourable Minister?
No, necessarily not. When you get into the issue of crime statistics, you'll realize, for an example, that there are specific categories that we have got to follow in populating the kind of information as per the register of cases in our service centers and so on. And I think the gist of this question relating to the electronic system that we use, it's about registering, management, and control of those particular cases. These are the three critical sort of elements of the work that a system has got to deliver. that is what currently takes place, and that's what currently obtains. Now, the question of categorization, for an example, when it comes to crime statistics, I think it's somewhat of a different matter altogether, because there is a particular set categories that we have got to slot into for purposes of reporting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. The Honorable One, the last supplementary.
Thank you. Listening to the minister about the reply, but my follow-up question is as follows. What method is put in place in police station like Gaga, in Ngobo, where there's no electricity? And secondly, what is the criteria that is used by the department in terms of dividing the tools of trade, like vehicles? Is it done by population or by villages?
Minister, I'm not sure. It sounds like a new question. Only if you have the appetite for it.
Yeah, no, indeed, it is a new question, but let me also try and satisfy the new question. I think the specific cases, for instance, with regards to Ngobo and to the Seipaka, I think so, Ekaka, yes, so sorry, Ekaka, yes. I think I can do consultations after this session to just follow up on the specific cases about issues of electricity and so it goes. But the general point really that I want to make is that there are challenges that when it comes to issues of infrastructure, generally speaking, particularly when it comes to the urban-rural divide kind of issues, amongst other things. Now, and this then transcends me onto the second question that the honourable member raised, the resource allocation issue. We are looking at reviewing our approach when it comes to what we generally use as the resource allocation guide within the South African Police Service. Because you will find that at some point you had a police station which serviced an X number of people. But dynamics and geographical and patterns of settlement begin to change to an extent that either a population doubles up or triples up and so forth, and therefore your service spread and scope of operation becomes much more wider and so forth, and that places quite an amount of quite exerts pressure on the amount of resources that is at our disposal and so forth. So we are also beginning to look at our resource allocation guide with a view to look at ways and means of how do we then meet up to the new, to upcoming sort of challenges and dynamics as and when the material conditions do change on the ground. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, sir. Minister, we proceed to the next question. That's question number 2, posed by the Honorable Mikilaikas. Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. The South African Police Service is fully committed to continuous improvement of its human resources on various aspects of policing, particularly officials who are on the front line of policing and service to the communities of South Africa. Hence, the department has embarked on a transformation agenda focusing on professionalizing the police service and adopted a back-to-basics policing approach as one of the strategies to deliver SAP's constitutional mandate. Through our internal assessment of the organization, some of the issues that emerged as affecting service delivery and accountability include, among others, delay in the filling of critical posts at lower levels. Secondly, the loss of experienced officers with critical skills, such as detectives and operational commanders, due to voluntary resignations, retirements, deaths, and other forms of service terminations. The department is aware of the challenges of poor performance in some police station areas across the country, and have thus adopted various measures to ensure that police officials are competent enough to deliver acceptable standard of service to the communities. These measures entail, among other initiatives, having appointed an experienced and highly trained senior officer to head our training division in order to ensure that we produce officials who are fully competent to deliver our mandate within the NDP Vision 2030 framework. All trained members, irrespective of the type of work they perform, are subjected to firearm competence assessment twice a year to ensure their operational readiness. Those who do not meet the set standard are disarmed of their firearms and provided further training until they pass the assessment. We have established a dedicated capacity called management interventions to address all factors hampering service delivery at station level, including competence of members, operational readiness of the stations in terms of competence of members, operational readiness of the stations in terms of other resources and daily and ability of the station to function properly. Working closely with various academic institutions to develop commanders on management skills. Filling of commanders and SMS posts within 30 days from the date the post became vacant to ensure sustained accountability. Developing a turnaround strategy to enhance our employee health and wellness to minimize sickness and absence rate. Strengthened our recruitment processes to ensure that quality recruits join the organization. And we continuously explore various technological solutions to support policing in order to minimize human factors, improving our data integrity and prevent potential corrupt activities such as lost case dockets. Lastly, we have undertaken a re-enlistment drive for former SAPS members with necessary skills and clear criminal record to rejoin the department. The project is almost complete. The members who are unfit to be part of SAPS due to criminal activities or any other form of corruption are continuously being dealt with decisively by the department. The acting national commissioner has recently embarked on a roadshow over the last 2 months where he personally addressed commanders at all levels on the issues of corruption, misconduct, and the significance of delivering a professional service to the community at all times. Thank you very much, Chair.
Honorable Mikelakis.
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson. Honourable Minister, it can be applauded that there are efforts to rid the police service from unfit and incompetent officers at the bottom level. However, one should not forget to also look in this regard to the top levels. If you are as committed as you say to ridding the SAPS from unfit members, why then was Lieutenant General Mondli Zuma appointed as the Provincial Commissioner in Mpumalanga after he was first removed from the same position in 2013 in Gauteng, hours after being first appointed, previously being charged with drunk driving, attempting to escape under custody, and defeating the ends of justice, and losing his firearm under suspicious circumstances, to name just a few? Surely, Honourable Minister, that is not ridding the SAPS of discredited leaders. Thank you.
Honourable Minister.
I do think the honourable member, if he so wishes, he could probably and may want to elect to consider this as an option, posing a new question on the appointment of General Zuma. But nevertheless, now that he has done so, General Zuma is a competent manager. and he has quite an extensive experience in the South African Police Service, and that competence has been demonstrated in various ways within the South African Police Service. Now, it would also be known that as we speak, General Zuma, who's now the Provincial Commissioner in Mpumalanga, even before his appointment, there were no criminal charges against him, never faced any. Secondly, that, of course, even departmentally, there were no particular issues. And even if there were issues, those particular issues were dealt with and basically clarified and so on. Now, as to why the issue keeps on arising, which is a straightforward technical matter, it just is a baffling matter, really. It just doesn't make sense. But nevertheless, the individual in question, there is no particular issue about him insofar as the legal issues are concerned in this country pertaining to him, but also even internally within the department. He's facing absolutely no particular charges and so forth. So I would have understood if, for that matter, the issue at hand was that we appointed him facing either when he was still facing criminal charges or so. I think that would be a different matter altogether. Or, for that matter, if there were departmental charges against him, and then we would have moved to appoint him and so on, perhaps that question would be much more sort of relevant from the side of Honourable Member Mikalakis. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. The Honorable Kaula. Mukwili, you are next. The last one. Honorable Ter Blanche.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Minister. In your response, you also referred to the issues of wellness programs. I want to direct my question, my follow-up question to that area, because the former National Police Commissioner once complained about this, that physical fitness affects the performance. And he said he was going to get rid of it in the force. Now, I want to know if you consider this framework of fitness to also be inclusive of the issue of physical fitness. And if so, what programs are there in the police stations to ensure that physically your officers are fit to be able to be up to the task? And also, if there are programs, are they being adhered to in all the police stations in the country? Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chair. With regards to that question, of course, there have been concerns that have been raised around the issue of the extent of fitness on the side of our members, specifically issue of physical fitness. And it is a matter also that is under consideration from our side as part of the back to basics approach, precisely because when we refer to the issue of fitness, it has got to be fitness all round. Fitness, yes, to do the job, but also fitness to be capable of executing the duty at hand. And we are confident that indeed, as and when we advance and intensify our efforts to improve the manner in which we execute our work, this matter will also be firmly taken forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister. The Honorable Mukwili.
Thank you very much. Honorable Minister, the report that was submitted to us as the portfolio during the summit last week is that the policemen and women and the personnel in general in your department, 80% of them are HIV positive. I want to find out from you as to what is the plan, because in your answer you said you are dealing with the matter decisively, but decisively to me is like
nothing. What is it that you are doing to make sure that those men and women in blue and the entire personnel are taken care of, and those that are positive, HIV positive, what is it that is tangible that you are doing as the department to make sure that their morale is high and they perform their duties accordingly? What is it that you are doing as the department? Thank you very much.
The Honorable Minister.
No, thank you very much, Chair. I would want to submit, Chair, that with regards to that issue, because I heard about that issue, and when I followed it up, I was then being told that that matter is being corrected, that it can't be a correct reflection that we have about 80 or 88% of our workforce being HIV positive and so on. Now, I would then ask that I be given an opportunity to verify that particular issue in totality and then report accordingly, because that as a basis has got to be firmly clarified, so that any other issue that is then linked thereto is also properly sort of, in a way, sort of attended to, and so it goes. The fact, though, remains that we have a functional employee health and wellness program within the South African Police Service, regardless of the extent or rate of HIV infection and so forth. Generally speaking, we have quite a functional sort of a unit that deals with the question of health and wellness, within the South African Police Service. But I really do ask Honourable Chair that I be given an opportunity to work on the factual detail around the question of what is purported to have been said or submitted at the summit, as you referred to. Thank you very much.
Okay, Honorable Mkwili, there is a commitment to submit the correct figures. And I suppose, Honorable Minister, that it will also outline the specific of what we are doing with the prevalence and the rate of infection. Thank you, sir. The Honorable Terreblanche, you're last.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Minister. I think you will agree with me that any credible selection process must include, background checks, like, for instance, criminal records, qualifications, stuff like that. But then most importantly, a vetting process. And I was just wondering whether you could maybe inform us, if you do that, the vetting specifically, not, leaving out the others, and up to what level? Because, it happened in the past, and, obviously I'm not going to mention, examples at the moment. But apparently people did slip through the cracks, so to speak, and got appointed that are not really up to, does not comply with all that, for specifically the vetting. Thank you, sir.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Chair. I could, probably after this session as well, provide statistical sort of data and information on the question of the extent of vetting, for an example. I just require an opportunity to be able to do so, precisely because right now, as we speak, I can't even begin to reflect on the extent and percentage thereof, insofar as how many of our people have been vetted and from which level to another level and so forth. Safe to say that, of course, vetted is being conducted, but the question of efficiency thereof, I think it's a different subject matter altogether, and so it goes. So again, I would, through the chair, ask that I provide that information as well regarding the question of vetting specifically. Thank you very much.
Minister, I had allowed that supplementary because I thought the vetting, the way he put the question would also have implications of how many people are slipping in and therefore contributing to incompetence. But I think if Honorable Terreblanche is happy, let's get the facts from the Minister. That then, Honorable Members, takes care of question number 2, We proceed to question number 22 posed by the Honorable Mohapi. Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson, honorable members, and ladies and gentlemen. The SAPS is currently reconfiguring the control and command structure as a management tool to ensure improved services at local level. Cluster management structures are being optimized so as to enable management to determine policing demands at each cluster, metro, cities, urban and rural areas. A formula and or instruments to determine resource requirements are in place, already tested, and adjustable according to locality dynamics and variables. Annually, all relevant demographic data and or information is collected, analyzed for adjustment in the resource allocation. The population trends and growth, including indicators for economic trends for each region, are also collected and analyzed and used in the formula. We have concluded a process on accessibility of service delivery points for South African Police Service nationally, the outcome of which was all SAPS service delivery points plotted on a geographic information system. All courts, magisterial districts, municipal districts plotted on the same GIS system for interdepartmental access and future integration of agenda. We now have a scenario plan on our GIS where the demands are or will be, given socioeconomic developments and population trends like migration and urbanization in terms of police service access. Statistics South Africa sources are being used in the main for data collection in order to determine current resource requirements and also do annual projections. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, for the response. But I just want to pursue it, Honorable Minister, that still, with the challenges of the rapid growth of our areas, we still see the possibility of uneven resource allocations. I would cite an example: there are newly established areas in our areas where you can't even see mobile police station nor police station. I'm saying to any person who's out there might see it as uneven resource allocation. The visibility of the police in the so-called township vis-a-vis the suburbs is also a challenge in most instances. What is it that you can commit to this House to guarantee to those poor people out there that there's a strict measures to ensure that we keep this uneven or possible uneven resource allocation? Thank you, Honorable Chair.
The Honorable the Minister.
Thank you very much. Our commitment, Honorable Chair, is that the level of reviewing the resource allocation guide, precisely because we are also extremely concerned about these discrepancies, particularly between urban, rural sort of divide level, as well as the question of the divide between rich and poor. It is quite concerning. You know, for instance, you do come across the kind of examples that the oral member is talking about. There's an area that has a police station that was built in the 1800s, for an example, and it still looks like what it was in the 1800s. And yet the population figure at the time was very, very sort of minute at that point in time, and that population, and that area, sorry, has grown quite exponentially over the decades. So we therefore need to dynamize our resource allocation guide in order to be able to follow these particular trends and continue to analyze these trends on an ongoing basis so that we're able to somewhat, you know, even if it means minimally, but be able to respond to the challenges of the time, given population growth and other dynamics, of course, which impact on the issue of policing. So our commitment is that the starting point for us is to review the resource allocation guide. Thank you very much, Chair.
The Honorable Terabin.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Honorable Minister, we are working with quite a few plans and things in this country, and one of the guiding ones, obviously the most important ones, I think, is a National Development Plan. And then obviously taking into account, population growth, urbanization, stuff like that. I was just wondering, your planning for the future, is that aligned with the stuff that I mentioned, like for instance, the National Development Plan and its impact? And if so, have you quantified the impact of this development? And obviously the rollout will have to be, to support whatever the growth is going to be. Can you just respond to that? Thank you, sir.
Honorable Minister.
No, thank you very much. In both the policy and strategic approaches that we have adopted is the South African Police Service. At the center of it is the question of the National Development Plan. So whatever we are talking to, for an example, let me give you an example. One of the government strategic outcomes is the question of ourselves as the South African Police Service having got to make a contribution towards our people feeling safe and being safe. Now, that's one of the strategic goals of the National Development Plan, for an example. So at all material times, we are then guided by that issue, but also at a policy reform level. There are issues such as professionalization, demilitarization, and other issues that we're beginning to focus on, so that indeed, as we move towards 2030, we begin to realize and unfold the actual vision as enunciated by the National Development Plan itself. So the fact of the matter is that when it comes to our strategic planning issues, policy forecasting and everything else and so on, we are doing that being guided by the National Development Plan itself. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair.
Thank you, sir. The Honorable Julius.
Thank you, Chairperson. I'd just like to, firstly, in my 2 minutes, squeeze it in, Chairperson, that I'd like to thank the Minister. Last year, I asked a question about the Tukomsrus police station. It's up and running and open 24/7. Thank you, Minister, for that. Although the Coxworth one that we also sent a
You are
petition.
protected, Honorable Julius.
Thank you. That we send a petition, the Coxworth one in Randfontein is still closed. The building stand there dormant. Minister, can you please check on that? It's being vandalized now. But back to the business of the day, Chairperson. Can the Minister please elaborate, where are these rising urbanization taking place? What are the areas? Because if we have a plan, we need to know where it is and how did it affect the prevention of crime in those areas. What plans do you have? Where is it, this urbanization? Where is it taking place? Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Minister.
Wow. Honorable Chair, if we are to provide, oh, by the way, Honorable Chair, let me also just accept the words of gratitude from Honorable Julius. Thank you very much for that. Now, basically, if I were to satisfy this question requires a comprehensive sort of research approach. Because wherever you go in South Africa, for instance, I'll give you an example. You know where there's a place in the Eastern Cape, Mount Frere, for an example. I used to work around there and pass there some few years ago. It was just one small place at one point. But if you go and if you visit the area today, I'm just making an example, visit the area today, you will see that firstly, the population has grown quite, quite exponentially and grown up. But secondly, is that also the pattern of settlement itself has expanded quite widely. So clearly, if you are then deploying your policing resources in an area such as that, your nature of deployment and allocation of resources must also follow this particular sort of trend and so forth. It's the same thing whether I take you to the northwest, Honorable Chair, you'll also come across a similar sort of a situation. It may not be urbanization in the sense of new cities being built or created, for an example, but it could also be that you, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, you walked into an area and it was extremely and utterly rural. But 20 years later, it has resembled something that looks like an urban settlement or so, precisely because of development and other basic infrastructural development issues that have been injected into the area, and therefore an exponential sort of population growth as well in one form or the other and so forth. So this question, in the long run, yes, it must be satisfied because as part of reviewing, for an example, the resource allocation guide, we must also begin to look into all these particular areas and be deliberately sort of biased, for instance, to try and minimize the urban-rural divide as it imposes itself onto us and the resources before us. Thank you very much, Honourable Chair.
Thank you. The Honourable Van Dingen.
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson. The Minister spoke about the fact that he's committed to review the allocation guide. And my concern in terms of urbanization and everything that's been said to date is the fact that the department is still linked to the census figures that come out every 5 years, and that is not good enough. Because places like Jeffreys Bay, for instance, has grown so fast that the figures are totally out. And I'm sure that Johannesburg would say the same. I'm sure that the city of Cape Town would say the same. And those places where the population growth is happening faster than the census figures of 4 or 5 years ago, is there not a way in which the Minister can advise us what other plans he's got in place to really understand urbanization and forward planning to accommodate that? Thank you.
Honourable Minister.
Honourable Chair, I'm not too sure whether I understood the question, but nevertheless, it's a matter of discussion and debate, really. Because I think the honourable member's starting point is the question of, Stats SA figures not being adequate and everything else about it and so forth. The fact of the matter is that there are no simple sort of straightforward answers to questions of this nature, precisely because it's a complex scientific kind of matter which deserves to be unpacked on its own and for itself, given a specific sort of conditions in a particular locality, for an example, and so it goes. However, I think we should, all of us, take either comfort or ourselves being supported in our approach that says, look, you have a number of policing challenges on the ground in different sort of areas that we are responsible for in this country, and therefore we need to begin to respond to those particular challenges, and the manner of intervention and response to the question of the challenges around the question of adequacy of policing in our respective areas is the question of the resource allocation guide. and looking at how it has got to be dynamized, for an example, in such a manner that continuously it has got to respond to the given challenges. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Minister. That was our last supplementary on question 22. We proceed to question number 53, posed by the Honorable Kaula. The Honorable the Minister.
A very interesting question indeed, Madam Chair. And if reference to the recent developments is in regard to the Constitutional Court hearing of the 9th of February 2016, then in that regard, Madam Chair, it should be noted that the matter is sub judice, as judgment is still awaited. However, it should be noted that the President of the Republic has made a commitment to pay a reasonable portion of the costs of Nkandla security upgrades in line with the Public Protector's report. The President's commitment to pay does not render those listed items as non-security at all. The issue of whether those items are security or not security related was not debated or canvassed in court, and no finding has also been sought nor canvassed from the Constitutional Court. As the Minister responsible and having been tasked by Parliament to investigate the matter and make a determination, I found, with the assistance of security experts, that the items that have been referred to are security related, and I stand by that finding. As I understand the submissions in court, my report has not been subjected to scrutiny because of it being factually incorrect, but its legality was tested against the lawfulness of the National Assembly's instruction. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair.
The Honorable Kaula.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Thanks, Honorable Minister. You are quite right. A very interesting question and a very interesting response indeed. Honorable Minister, the issue about payment is on the basis of non-security features in the report of the Public Protector. And also the President's indication sort of is also on the basis of non-security features. Now, when you look at the whole issue, the non-security features that we are all talking about will refer to the crawl, the chicken run, the swimming pool that featured very highly in your drama, your video, and also the tuck shop. Now, one would have to ask a question. Are we living in two worlds? Why would these items be considered as non-security in the understanding of the presidency, but be considered as security features in the police personnel? Now, that would be very interesting. Why could that be? If the minister still maintains that these are security features, why would they be non-security to the presidency and be security features to the SAPS? Thank you.
Honorable Minister.
Firstly, I don't think we should necessarily confuse the two things. I'm not here, and I'm not speaking on behalf of the President or Presidency in this regard. I'm talking on the basis of what I was mandated to do by Parliament, and that's what I did. Now, I may not have been following all the court proceedings and so forth, but I don't recall, for instance, a submission anyway, whether in the court itself or publicly, that says, I therefore determine that these are non-security features, therefore I'm paying. I don't think that was what was said or came across. Now, and I think we should also learn to draw the line between matters of legal strategy of whatever nature and away from the research that I have had to conduct for this, for an example. Because in the compilation of the report by the Minister of Police, you couldn't do it in any other way except the question of a research approach to it. Now, oh, by the way, Honorable Kaula, in my report, there's nothing about the tuck shop. So I said nothing about the tuck shop. There were four critical issues that were raised in the public protector's report as non-security features: the crawl, the swimming pool, the chicken run, the amphitheater. Yeah, whether you call it fire pool or whatever, fire pool, swimming pool, and so forth. Now, those were the four critical issues that were then raised. And therefore, what the Minister of Police had to do was the question of what is the actual origination of these particular items? Where do they come from? And that's where research had to come in. But even if you had to conduct a literature review on the issue, it also became important to therefore begin to interview experts on these various sort of issues, for an example. That included engineers, that included the question of security experts and so forth, and people who really had to conduct the whole security assessment around the residence of the president and so forth. So in this country today, as we speak, we don't have any other report that has been worked on to basically refute the claims that are made in the body of the report of the Minister of Police as per the instruction of Parliament. What people have opted to do is to deal with procedural issues and stay away from substantive issues, because indeed, if you have got to delve into the substantive issues, you must then interrogate the actual origins of these particular issues. You must also conduct your own research, including literature review and so forth. You must also basically interview and question people about what the actual issues and the designs were insofar as that issue is concerned. So, Honorable Kaula, my view and my humble sort of advice would be to say, it will help you to look at the report as per the resolution of Parliament, and look and away from the issues of legal strategy and matters that were argued in court, for instance, because those two things do not actually meet. Thank you very much, Honorable.
The Honorable Julius.
Thank you, Chairperson. Honorable Minister, in light of that recent court case that you say is still sub judice, I understand that, but the question won't interfere with evidence before the court. I'd like to know whether the President of South Africa has since or before the offer of settlement formally or informally consulted the Minister of Police, the Ministry, regarding the repayment of the respective security features, because it reflects on... Madam Chair, can you protect me against...
You're protected. Please finish yours.
The room divider. It reflects on the integrity of the ministry and the department and government as a whole. That, you said that, and now the president changed but didn't consult you. So I want to know whether he consulted you prior to the change, the U-turn, or after the U-turn. Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Julius, you are sneaking in a question. Minister, are you?
Yeah, no way.
Order, members.
No, Honorable Chair, I had just said that it will help. In fact, it was in reference to Honorable Kaula, but Honorable Kaula is a representative amongst many here, and I think he represents quite a majority of many of the members in the chamber here. But And I had just said to him, and I think that should also, by extension, Madam Chairperson, also apply to Honorable Julius. Separate the report as per as sanctioned as per the resolution of the National Assembly, and look at it as just a report that deals with the issues therein, away from matters of legal strategy and legal issues that are being debated somewhere else. And I had said right from the beginning that I don't want to talk about the issue that is, is still a subject of the Constitutional Court per se. And there's no reason why I should have been consulted around legal issues, really. My work was my work on the basis of what I was asked to do as per the resolution of the National Assembly, and that's what I did. Thank you very much.
Your time has also expired there. The Honorable Mokhosi.
Honorable.
Are you on a point of order?
Yes, Honorable Chairperson. The many honorable ministers that I represent, does it include the members of the ANC?
That's not a point of order. Honorable Mokhosi.
Ke a leboga modulasetilo, motlhomphegi wa ntlo e mme Modise. Honorable Minister, my question to you would be that do you still consider yourself as a legitimate minister after the new developments on the Nkandla matter? Thank you.
Honorable Mokhosi, that is not a question that flows from order. That is not a supplementary question that flows from the response given by the minister. Honorable Faber, you take. You are on a point of order.
Yes, Chair. I'm in a point of order, Madam Chair.
What is your point of order?
The point of order is that the minister has just said to us, we must learn to separate the report he has presented and the matter at the court. For me, what Honorable Mokhosi is saying is clearly a direct question, because the minister himself cannot elaborate on the matters that concern the issue of Nkandla properly. He must tell us whether he still stands as he is. Is he still a minister or what? Because now it's like he's trying to defend the undefendable.
Thank you, ma'am. That is not a point of order. Honorable Faber, please proceed. I ruled. Order. Honorable Faber, you are on the floor.
Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Ntebe, I called you to order.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to pose my question in Afrikaans because I only defend myself in English. So I want the Minister to hear it I have the translator gets
Minister,
it right.
please take on your turn. Afrikaans is one of the languages.
Thank you, Chair.
Gaan voort, meneer. Die achtbare.
Baie dankie, voorsitter. Yes, minister, ek wil graag net weet, jy weet, na hierdie hofsaak nou in Nkandla, waar ons nou agtergekom het, dat die Public Protector se rapport nou wel aanvaar word, wil ek net weet, u het verder in hierdie ondersoek gaan kyk na Nkandla, u het gesê daar moet verdere sekuriteitsmaatreëls ingestel word, wat heel wat meer gaan kos. Nou wil ek weet, nou laat ons nou verstaan dat die firepool is nou eintlik 'n swimmingpool en die tipe van goed. Nou wil ek net weet, u observasies wat u nou gemaak het, gaan u nou hierdie sekuriteitsbehoeftes hersien en weer dit in ag neem om te kyk of dit nie ook dalk nou weer soos 'n firepool na swimmingpool toe verander het en of daar nou ander goedjies ook nou verander nie. As ons nou kyk na die sekuriteitsbehoeftes, gaan u dit heroorweeg? En die kostes daaraan van die belastingbetaler af wegvat.
Minister, did you get the question?
I think I had some part of it, Honorable Chair. I was battling to find the
Afrikaans.
The
translation into English.
The Channel 2 kind of thing. But I think your the last part is about whether am I going to review these security features?
Honorable Faber.
Chairperson, I'm going to try in my best of English.
Okay.
Chairperson, I would like to know the security features that was seen when the minister was there to say that these are new security features that has to still get to Nkandla. I want to know, are the minister going to re-evaluate his observations, as it seems like we've seen now that the fire pool became a swimming pool? Now, the other observations I need to understand, because there's big cost implications from what we've heard before that still has to be implemented within Nkandla. Now, I need to know, are the minister after this going to re-evaluate his stance on this? And is he then going to go to Nkandla and see if there's not other features that's also maybe not fire pools and things like that? Thank you.
Honorable Minister.
Just let me start with the last one, Honorable Chair. The fact of the matter is that I was asked through a resolution by the National Assembly to do this work, and it was very pointed. Go and establish whether or not the fire pools, swimming pool, amphitheater, crawl, chicken run, visitor center, sorry, the fourth one. Whether or not these are security-related features. Now, I do not know whether honourable members at least, took some time to either, read and study the report, because it went into detail. For an example, the starting point, Madam Chair, is that there was a security assessment, and the agencies that are responsible for security assessment for VIPs, such as the President, Deputy President, and other political office bearers, is the South African Police Service and the State Security Agency. They work together on these particular issues. Now, so we had to trace the matter all the way back. When did the issue, for instance, of a fire pool or swimming pool arise? It did not arise in 2014. It arose way back in 2009. And who said that? Okay, and for what reason? So we had to interrogate all those particular issues. Who spoke about the question of a visitor center and for what particular reason and so forth? And when? It was not 2014, 2015 that it was spoken about. It was way back, 2009 and so forth, as part of the initial security assessment kind of issues and so forth. So those things are established. They're established, they are there as a matter of public record. And so it goes. Now, the question I think that the honourable member is raising is whether or not, in the light of the report as worked on and produced by the Minister of Police, and in the light also of the recent developments, do I still stand by report? I firmly do so. I firmly stand by that report until there is a particular human soul who will stand here before me and refute all the research work and the content issues that we had to deal with in that particular report. It's only on the basis of such, but for now, that report and the work that I had to do, I stand by it, and of course, unless somebody produces something else to the contrary, that in 2008 and 2009, these issues were never dealt with. There was never a security assessment kind of report that generated these issues and declared these particular issues as security-related kind of features. Thank you very much, Honourable Chair.
Honourable Shibukwana. Memukwela Ruyo on a point of order. Okay. Now, the last one was given to this member. No. Honorable members, I'm quite literate. I counted 4 members. If you are covered, it will go to you.
Thank you, Ma'am Sibukwan. Honorable Minister, it is clear that the ANC itself is divided on this matter of Ngandla. Why are you still considering those things, those chicken runs, fire pools and whatever, as security features, according to what you have highlighted now? For me, I would ask you a question that, are you protecting an individual by the name of Jacob Zuma? Or are you protecting the country of South Africa? Are you working for the people of South Africa, or are you working for the individual by the name of Jacob Zuma? Thank you.
Firstly, Honorable, before I recognize you, Honorable Dlamini, Jacob Zuma is still President of the Republic of South Africa. That respect. Honorable Dlamini, are you rising on a point of order? Thank you very much, Minister.
Honorable Chair, I think I've explained how this process unfolded. And by the way, I can't also blame the honorable member for what she's alleging. I mean, many people have alleged this thing. Many people have said all sorts of manner of things about. Unfortunately, I'm not that type of an individual, really. I objectively, at all material times, try to deal with matters before me from an objective angle. That's all that I do. And that's all that I had to do in relation to this particular matter. Now, it is a matter that when I say that I stand by it, it's not because I'm dispensing any particular favor to any particular human individual. It's a matter that, for me, directly responds to the question of a principle. And the principle is, how did these matters come about? And what I needed to do was to do work in relation to satisfying fundamentally that question. How is it that you had these 4 identified issues as classified security issues and therefore queried at a later point as non-security issues and so forth and so on. So when I say I stand by that report, it's because indeed I do. And it's the interesting thing for me is that there's nothing invented about that report and the work and some of the reports that also were part of the original security assessment and so forth. It's all the issues that have always been there. And what I had to do was to, of course, delve into them in terms of establishing why these issues existed and why they were classified in a particular way. And that's all that I had to do. And I'm quite happy with that. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair.
Thank you, Minister. We move on to the next question. It is question number 8. It's posed by the Honorable Lebaskachne. Honorable Minister.
Madam Chairperson, honorable members, the establishment of a special task team is based on project management principles to investigate an identified crime threat. The investigation of the crime threat will be in a predetermined geographical area for a period planned to address the identified threat. Members will be placed within the special task team with specific skills and competencies for the duration of the project. Once the crime threat has successfully been attended to, the special task team will be dissolved. A special task team is not a permanent structure. Members of the special task team will therefore return to their units and/or offices where they were originally placed. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Lebaskachne.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you very much, Minister. seen that in your answer, it's project management, geographical area, and the crime stats and the threat. I would like to know, in light of what is being published in the South African Police Service Directorate of Priority Crime Investigation, the Hawks media statement on the SAP's website on the 2nd of February 2016, it was stated, and I quote, "The concerted efforts by the Hawks-led multidisciplinary task team involved the detectives, crime intelligence, and the tactical response team in the Eastern Cape has led to the swift arrest of a 29-year-old suspect who shot randomly, killing 4 people and critically injured 1 in what was believing gang-related violence in the northern areas of Port Elizabeth, Eastern Cape on Sunday," unquote. Honourable Minister, as you explained, the criteria, I would like to know, how can you explain to the communities in the Western Cape why have you not agreed to set up a task team to deal with gang-related violence and deaths in our communities on various occasions, as we also qualified to these criteria, but never had a task team. And every time in all the speeches in the NA and wherever, the Western Cape has been singled out as the province with the highest gang-related violence. Please explain to the community. Thank you.
Honourable Minister.
I sincerely do believe, Honourable Chair, that that's essentially a new question, which seek the detail around the issue of the dynamics insofar as the gang-infested sort of areas in the Eastern Cape. Now, what this question that had been posed by yourself, Honourable Member, sought to do was to establish the procedure and in establishing task teams, for an example, and so it goes. Now, it would require, if you pose this question to me, for an example, I can respond to it, yes, but I would need time to also respond to it, because then I would need to know, for an example, is it true that we never set up a task team to deal with the issue of gangsterism in the Western Cape? Is it true, for an example, that we never sent any specialized sort of units to deal with the question of the gang warfare in the Western Cape and so forth, and so it goes. So I would require that, but I'm just offering that in case you do want to pose that question, please do pose it and I'll respond to it, but not here and now, of course.
Honourable Labuskaghni.
Thank you, Chair. Honourable Minister, with all due respect, thank you for the answer, which was not an answer. I did pose the question.
I thought you were going to address, you did pose the question and...
Yes, the Minister said I must please pose another question.
No.
I would like the Minister to answer the question which I posed.
Honourable Labuskaghni, I gave you the opportunity because I thought you did pose the question, it was responded to. When you came in with your follow-up, you started off with a task team in the Eastern Cape and then brought it into the Western Cape. So not being in the police environment, I couldn't make the connection. And that is why I left the matter to the Minister to decide whether it was a new question or not. The Minister says that it would then, at the end of your question, you then hone on to the need to get a proper response as to why there has never been a special task team to deal with issues of gangsterism. What I hear the Minister saying is, I would need to find out whether indeed there was never. So what I hear you say, Minister, is you do not want to mislead the House and say, yes, it was never, or yes, it was established. You'd rather go and give us a comprehensive response. Perhaps what you can help us with is whether we should have a time frame and whether you could respond to that in writing to the Honourable Member so that this question then is covered comprehensively. Is that the undertaking, my Minister?
Yes, Madam Chairperson, it is indeed an undertaking. I can respond in writing. I can effectively do so within the week.
Yeah, then the Honorable Minister, the Honorable Labuskaghni has the right to do any follow-ups depending on the response you get on that question. Honorable members, is there any other supplementary on question? I don't see any hands, so I will proceed. I proceed to the last question to you, Minister. It is a question from the Honorable Qimbi, question number 49. Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson, Honorable members. Various factors have been embarked on regarding the demilitarization of the South African Police Service, and those factors are as follows. In 2014, the South African Police Service conducted a research colloquium in which demilitarization was highlighted as a pressing issue as raised in the National Development Plan 2030. The report of the research colloquium is available. During 2015, our division, Human Resource Development, initiated a research project approved by the Acting National Commissioner of the South African Police Service to be conducted relating to demilitarization in the South African Police Service with the intent to clarify the concept. The research project is planned in collaboration with tertiary institutions, and the research proposal is also available if so requested by honorable members. The challenge facing demilitarization in the South African Police Service is that there isn't a clear understanding of the concept, and therefore, further conducting of research in this regard is needed within the organization. There is also not a clear perception from the public perspective in terms of demilitarization, who considers demilitarization as the removing of ranks and uniform only, whereas an academic perception stems further to include cultural change, attitudinal change, material change, and organizational change. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Qimbi.
Ndiyabonga ngqongqoshe kakhulu ngohlobo oyibeke ngalo. Kodwa benifuna ukuqonda njengqongqoshe ukuthi this demilitarization ayinokwenza mhlawumbi amaphoyisa abe weak ekudilishaneni nabanqevu nezindlavini njengoba sibona ukuthi kunezigebengu ezisemveni kokugebenga amaphoyisa, but ayinoba ne-effect to this thing of demilitarization. Thank you, sir.
Honorable Minister.
There's some noise that comes out from here. Sorry. Honorable Chair, demilitarization will not necessarily make amaphoyisa ukuthi abengene ngene. Yabona. Funa ngiphendule ngesithi it wouldn't. It necessarily would not. All it says is that our members on the ground must be equipped in such a manner that we are able to make correct sort of callings and determinations, for instance, in how we have got to respond to particular situations. Let me give you an example. If you have got to deal with a public protest, for just a specific example, the question arises, you are not faced with a group of people that are armed with R5s, that are armed with spears and everything. They're just demonstrating. So you need an approach, both in your mind, but also, even physically for that matter, that says these are the tools that, in policing the situation and enforcing the law, that I'm going to apply that are non-lethal. So it has got to be a deliberate shift in your head as a police officer on the ground, for an example, that in this situation, I'm not going to use live ammunition, I'm not going to use any other thing and so on. I'm going to use non-lethal methods to enforce the question of members of the public having got to comply with the law and so on. Now, but if you were to ask me, the same police officer, a report comes in that says a bank downtown is under siege from criminals, for an example. So there's a bank robbery. So I'm not going to go there with a water cannon. So I'm still equipped, the same police official, I'm still equipped to make a determination that says, look, that situation is a deadly situation, and therefore my manner of intervention must be adequately be at a similar level to deal with it, and so forth. So, and that's why our argument is to say demilitarization is not about the question of doing away with the ranks and everything else. It's about cultural change, it's about mind change, it's about change management in broader terms, and so it goes. I remember Madam Chair was asked this question about ranks, and ranks, they produce militarism and so forth. And I said, if then that is the case, what do we say about the Salvation Army? It's a denomination. They don't beat up people there in order for people to be christened or something. Ne? And yet you, in the Salvation Army, you have a captain. And the captain, I suspect, I've never been in the Salvation Army, but I suspect a captain is either somebody in the leadership of the church, either a reverend or a deacon. Ne? But it's called a captain. Ne? And they march, but they are praising His Almighty the Lord, you know? So there are no beatings that take place there because of the ranks that they have, you know, imposed onto themselves. So I'm saying in entering the debate around the question of demilitarization, it should not be narrowed down to simply just the question of the ranks. It should be about the question of organizational and cultural
Your
change.
response
and
time is
approach to
over.
issues. Oh, no, I'm sorry, Madam Chair, thank you.
Honorable Shibukwane, Honorable Kaula, Honorable Mkweli.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. To the Honorable Minister. Minister, in 2012, 34 striking Lonmin platinum miners were shot dead by police during the dispersal operations, now commonly identified as the Marikana massacre. Our thoughts are with the respective families every day. Honorable Minister, one of the Marikana commissions recommended or had recommendations included that SEPS should appoint panel of experts to assist the transformation of SEPS in various areas, including training. Has the panel been appointed yet, Minister? If not, why not? If so, by which date does this panel aim to complete their mandate that they had to execute? Thank you.
Again, Minister, I'm not sure. The Honorable Shibukwane's question may actually be asking you to respond into the general overhaul and skilling and re-equipping of the police. If you take a more liberal view on the question, you may try to bring it in. It seems like it has not connected to the thrust of the question, which is about demilitarization of the police. So it is up to you, Minister, if my understanding is correct of the supplementary.
Okay. No, thank you very much. No, I will attempt to assist the honourable member, Madam Chairperson, if you also so allow. And particularly because she's smiling at me. Thank you very much.
Honourable Minister, I hope we strike off the smiling part. And you
No, no,
just
I'm
give
sorry.
us the response.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair. No, in regard to the question of the Farnham recommendation specifically, or arising out of the Marikana Commission, we have acted. We have started some work in that regard. You will recall, honourable members, that in the beginning of this year, we made a public announcement to the effect that we have constituted the panel of experts from various different expertise and various sectors, both in the country but also internationally, in terms of us having got to be assisted in the work that seek to improve and transform the workings of the South African Police Service, particularly when it comes to issues of public order policing. So that has been done. The once outstanding issue is with regards to the question of an appointment of a retired judge, for instance, to chair. And we're working with the Department of Justice and Correctional Services for them to assist us in terms of the appointment of the chair of the panel, in other words, the retired judge, as we had said. So that work is in progress. We are hoping that in the next few weeks, there will be the first sitting of the panel to begin to deal with the issues as having arose out of the Marikana Commission of Inquiry. Thank you very much, Honourable Chair.
Thank you, sir. The Honourable Kaula.
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson. Maybe the Minister is correct in saying the use of the term demilitarization is misleading a little bit. But I want to find out, Honourable Minister, will this be the first phase, if I can put it in that way, or the first wave of demilitarization after 1994? Or maybe some transformation of the way the police officers are trained has happened before? I'm saying because from the responses that you have given, it looks like when this has to happen, it has got to start from the way the police officials are being trained, also incorporating the transformation of those who are already in the service. Now, I just want to find out if it has happened before. Thank you.
Honourable Minister.
Madam Chair, I like some of the issues that Honourable Kaula raised. This demilitarization approach is expected to look into the innermost sort of cultural issues of the South African Police Service, for instance, when it comes to issues of policing. Now, if you do that, and particularly once you talk of issues of change management, people, culture, and everything else having got to be tempered with or altered in one form or the other, the fundamental question is that you need to take stock of what you have, but also look at the ideal state. Now, the ideal state would be, what is it that we should end up being as the South African Police Service, for an example? So, and therefore, when you start looking into those areas, surely the issue of how we train our people becomes quite a relevant factor, for instance, to look into. But when you say that, and you say, yes, we need to look into how we train people, you must also begin to deal with the question of what do you do with the ones that were trained in a particular manner, for an example, who are already within the establishment, not only just your new recruits and so on. So you'll also require a different kind of a program that must also deal with that. But at the center of demilitarization, our argument, Madam Chair, is that it's a matter of, we are talking about the question of an approach to policing, an approach that says we must be measured, we must also ensure that in the methods of policing do uphold the constitutional principles of this country that define us as South Africans. So that's the that's the essence when in our approach with regards to the question of demilitarization. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Honorable Mokwele.
Ka leboga modulasetulo. Minister, potso ya ka e nngwe fela ke mabapi le go dirisiwa ga dithunya ya ka department ya gago e le busy e le ka go demilitarize the police. Yaanong ke re hardly a week ago a boy in Tlhabane location in Northwest Bojanala region, Rustenburg municipality, was shot dead by a police officer. And that boy was just walking Mostrateng. People were protesting. He was not protesting. Those protesters were not armed. So my question is to you. Are you saying, as the department, you are still lacking the capacity to deal with the culture and the approach and the manner in which the police are conducting themselves, especially with regards to public order policing, with regard to batho ba ba e leng gore ba protester for whatever reason that they are protesting for? Are you still saying your department is still lacking that capacity to capacitate the men and women in blue in using the firearms? Thank you.
Honorable Minister.
Thanks very much, Honorable Chair. I wouldn't know the specific sort of details surrounding the case of the poor child that was killed in the Northwest. I think it will be also a different subject matter to look into it. The fact of the matter is, we must also take into account that we re-established the public order policing in December 2013. Now, and we are in the process of capacitating that very same unit. Okay, so capacitating means, amongst other things, the question of beefing up numbers, amongst other things. Also the question of ongoing training and methods with regards to issues of crowd management and control, the question of equipment as part of what needs to assist our members on the ground as and when they are managing situations of public order and so forth. Now, it's an ongoing kind of matter. For an example, now the work on demilitarization is essentially an effort to try and intensify and advance our efforts around issues of culture change and issues of organizational change insofar as approaching these particular matters. Now, we should also not lose sight, if I may, of one thing, Madam Chair, if I could say. You know, one of the challenging issues insofar as policing in South Africa is concerned is that we stand at about, on average, 12,000 public protests per annum in this country, which tells you that there is a lot of demand and pressure that is piled up around the issues of policing, and so it goes. Now, and therefore, we ourselves as an institution are duty bound to respond adequately to a challenge of this particular nature and so on. But honorable member, the question is that this is ongoing work in terms of improving our approach to policing. But I think the issue of the question of the death of the child in Northwest is a matter that would have to be investigated to look at what were the the circumstances pertaining to that particular incident. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Minister. I should have declared that this last question, I most probably should have recused myself from it. As I was one of the proponents of demilitarization of the police service many years ago, Minister. It would be very good if in the panel you actually do invite women of the country to be represented as a voice, because we've got views on this matter. Honorable members, the other one was the current Deputy Secretary General of the ANC, by the way. We piloted the ANC position on this matter years ago. Honorable members, I'd like to say to the House that we will now suspend the business to enable members for lunch. The bells will be rung for 5 minutes before we resume business. The House is suspended.